Hey, what is going on, guys? Donovan here. Today I'm going to be making a comprehensive video on the 3.09 gear differential that I put in my 2016 Charger RT. I've made a couple videos about it in the past and I've gotten a bunch of questions about it, so I'm hoping to compile everything into one video. I have some notes, so hopefully I don't forget anything, and let's get started. So on the screen, I'm going to put a kind of, I guess, timestamps of what to expect in this video. I'm going to go over like the price, the benefits, the install thing, and then I'm going to mention some important things in the final notes of the video. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the end. If you know certain things already but need to hear those final notes, just go ahead and skip ahead. There should be a timestamp on the screen somewhere. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so I have a 2016 Charger RT that originally came with the 262 open differential. First, I'm gonna go over the price and where I purchased this thing. So I bought mine through Summit Racing. It was about 800 bucks after tax. I'm gonna go ahead and put the link to the one I bought on the screen. Apparently they've also replaced, Mopar has also replaced that with another part number, so I'll put the link to that in the description as well. The reason I'm saying this is because the one I got in the mail didn't have the exact same serial number as the one that I ordered, which is weird, but they sent me the replacement one, so no big deal. It's still a 309 limited slip differential. Obviously, you're going to want to pick up oil for the thing, and since this is the differential that they put on the Scat Packs, I believe, in the Hellcats, I just went ahead and kind of Googled what oil they put in those, and I believe it's 75W85. Now, you're going to want to check that again just in case to make sure, but I believe that's the oil that you should be putting in it. And really, that's all I had to buy. The axles fit in perfectly. I have the 220 millimeter axles on this thing, so I didn't have to buy anything else. Everything else was just straight bolt-on, and that is it. I have heard that the setup is a little bit different on 3.6 liter Chargers and Challengers, so you're gonna have to do some looking into that. Unfortunately, I don't know much about them. So there are obvious benefits to changing the gear ratio in your car and adding limited slip. The 3.09 gears made the car feel a lot peppier than the 262s. The 262s are more geared towards gas mileage and freeway flying, whereas the 309s are more performance oriented than those. A lot of people ask if you lose top end speed with it. Theoretically you do, but I really haven't noticed anything. Of course, it's not like I ever have or I ever will have this thing up to top speed, because number one, car's not built for that. Number two, it's illegal. Number three, it's super dangerous. So in my normal day-to-day driving, and even when I do pulls, you don't notice the difference. Now what you do notice is how much quicker it pulls. And also, I think there is a fundamental misunderstanding of what limited slip differentials do. Limited slip differentials, they send power to whichever tire has more traction, whereas open differentials send 50-50 to each tire. Now, while intuitively it sounds like the open differential would be better, that's actually not the case. Limited slip differentials will help you keep that traction, hence the name. Now, some people have asked, how come my Charger RT is able to leave 11s down the road from a dead stop? And the answer to that is the car puts out enough torque to spin both of the tires off the line, so that's why you're getting those 11s. When you'll really notice the difference when you're spinning around a corner, because in a stock Charger RT, what happens is when the car leans around a corner, so say you're turning around a corner right and you punch the gas, the weight is lifted off of the inner tire, and the inner tire is what spins, but you'll notice that the outside tire is not going to spin. So when you go and circle around and look at the road, you'll realize there's only one line on the street. So really, the limited slip differential will help you with that. It'll help you with weathered conditions, and it'll, most importantly, help you launch the car. So the install wasn't crazy hard. It was kind of annoying at some times, really the only tools you need are a ratchet set, and I believe it was a T50 ratchet head to remove the drive shaft bolts. Now those were probably the hardest part because there's green Loctite on the drive shaft bolts, so it requires some muscle to get them off. So keep that in mind. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to drop the exhaust off the car. We realized that you couldn't easily pull the axles out of the differential without removing the exhaust. Then you're going to want to go ahead and unbolt the drive shaft. Don't be afraid to put some muscle into it. Then you're going to want to place the jack under the differential, unbolt the differential, and slowly lower it to a position where you can easily pull the axles out. This is where you guys need to be careful because I made this mistake and it cost me about $200. So I manhandled those axles when I pulled them out. And basically what happened was I pinched the boots and the rubber casings on either side of the axles and pierced them. So I had, after about a couple days of driving, I looked underneath and realized there was green axle grease basically just spread all underneath the car. So just make sure not to manhandle the axles too much and not to bend them too much because you can puncture them, and I basically had to get them fixed and I had to take the whole thing apart and reinstall it. After that, you really just do everything backwards. You use the jack to lift the new differential into place, wiggle the axles in, lift it up, bolt it back in, bolt up the drive shaft, and you're pretty much ready to go. That brings me to the final notes. It's a pretty simple install. There's really nothing crazy to this whole differential thing. I do want to mention the break-in period. So after you put the 75-85 oil into it, you're going to want to head and wait 500 miles before you go really hard on the car. Now, while I haven't confirmed whether or not these specific differentials need a break-in period, in general, you do want to wait 500 miles and go easy on it. That way the gears can mesh properly. I didn't notice any weird shifting. The car just felt peppier and that was pretty much all I noticed. Also, it must be noted that on the highway your RPMs will sit a little higher. That's to be expected because the drive shaft is rotating more times per second than the original 262 gears. You also have to keep in mind that if you go for a gear ratio like 370s or 390s, that effect will be multiplied, so you'll see higher RPMs on the highway than you would with the 309s. I have seen no gas mileage effects, no speedometer effects really, and I did a video on that in the past, checking whether or not the gears would have an effect on my speedometer. The video made it appear that it does, but I'm still sticking with my hypothesis that it doesn't because these cars don't measure speed that way. They measure it with a sensor that's in the wheel. So it won't affect your speedometer, and you shouldn't really see a significant change in gas mileage. If this video helped you guys at all, please remember to click that subscribe button below. I'd like to thank you guys for 1,000 subscribers. I believe we're at over 1,200 now, which I don't know how that happened. Regardless, thank you guys for the support. Click that like button below. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.